It is 11 o'clock in London, midnight in Brussels. The moment of Brexit. It has arrived.
A historic referendum in 2016 led to negotiations and years of political infighting in Westminster. And it all culminates here and now.
So the Leave Mean Leaves campaign is celebrating in Parliament Square. Anna Stewart is there. Now, we had bongs in Downing Street, recorded bongs, because Big Ben isn't doing any bonging at the moment. But what did you have?
We also had some recorded bongs, Richard, and now we have God Save the Queen, sung by thousands of people. It really has been the most extraordinary evening of celebration. Singing, dancing, lots of cheering. I'm joined by someone here. But first of all, actually, we're just going to take a pause and let you just appreciate this incredible... by someone who was singing along, Jennifer Rowlands. Now, very special day for her. It's also her birthday, and this was the present that you've wanted for some years now.
I couldn't have had a better present than this. I've wanted this since the early 70s and for the past nearly 4 years.
And how have you felt through the process there? You're very happy right now tonight, but it's not been easy. How have you felt in the last 3.5 years?
Frustrated and angry, but I always felt sure that the British people would win out. The Parliament tried to frustrate it, but the British people would always have their say in any general election, and I knew that once they got the chance to vote, the people that had stopped it happening before would be gone.
So it's victory tonight. Have all the divisions been healed throughout the UK tonight, do you think?
I hope so, but there's quite a few Remainers that still are quite hostile about it. But we're just one happy family. We just want everyone to get on.
Well, happy birthday and happy Brexit Day to you. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you. Anna Stewart in Parliament Square. CNN's International's diplomatic editor is Nick Robertson outside the Houses of Parliament. Nick, you've covered this from start to finish, and it's fair to say you've done a fair bit of coverage of all the previous years of difficulties with the European Union. Your reflection tonight?
You know, Richard, I spent the day in Sunderland, obviously, with the Prime Minister was up there earlier on. We've just listened to volleys of fireworks being fired off down the river here. Undoubtedly, the capital and parts of the capital, I would say, are infected with the mood of celebration. But driving here from the station, because I just came back from Sunderland by train, a 3.5-hour train ride from the northeast of the country. Most of the city is sort of going about its Friday night without the sort of fanfare and celebration. But what really struck me today, Richard, in the city that the Prime Minister chose to go to, because it was technically the first to vote for Brexit. Of course, the whole country voted on the same day. They just counted their votes more quickly than anyone else. this was really a sense of the Prime Minister's visit there was political theatre. The trust in the Prime Minister, even in this town that voted for Brexit, was low, and there was no sense of occasion, no sense of something big happening on the streets there. Most people were worried about jobs, worried about the future, and indeed concerned that, you know, the Prime Minister has been ambitious in his language and undoubtedly is in a strong political position. But there's a real concern about their future, and none, and this is what really, really struck me, none of the sort of celebration that we see here, even in a town that so much wanted Brexit. So I think there is this big gap and big divide still. The Prime Minister wants to bridge it, but there's this big gap and big divide in this country, and there's a long way from healing that, as the Prime Minister wants to do.
Nick Robertson, who is in Downing, who's on the other side of the river, looking at Parliament. I have to say, it is quite extraordinary. I mean, we not only just have we waited for so long,
so many delays,
but anybody who has been a student, any journalist who's watched European affairs in the UK over the last 20, 30 years has known that this has been a moment always at risk. And you just wonder, I mean, this is one of those gosh moments.
There were so many times in the process where it could have gone another way. The result itself shocked the majority of the population, but then there were moves for the people's vote, there were pushes from the Liberal Democrats to revoke and remain. There were so many different pathways, especially when Theresa May was struggling to hold the government together, where this day may not have come.
European leaders are promising strong partnership with the UK and a new dawn for the 27 countries that remain in the Union. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, instead of being nice about it all, he had a warning.
I remember how the 2016 campaign was made up of lies, exaggerations, simplifications, blank checks that were promised but will never arrive. Also, we must remember at every moment what lies can lead to in our democracies.
Nina Dos Santos is in the heart of the European Union. Nina, Brexit did function as something which unified the EU. There are many fractures, but it did paper over the cracks somewhat. What has Brexit done to the EU? And going forward, is it going to expose even more problems for other recalcitrant member states?
There's a big fear here, Bianca, that the glue could start to be coming unstuck here with the loss of now 66 million people as of the last 5 minutes ago, and one of the most influential key members of the original European Union project. Now, the UK joined this bloc all the way back in the early 1970s. It's been a member for almost 5 decades. And throughout all of that tortuous relationship, there has been some discomfort here in the Belgian capital, which is, of course, the beating heart of the EU institutions, that the UK was always half in and sort of half out. What we heard this week in the European Parliament, when finally that withdrawal agreement cleared its final legal hurdle, was some really impassioned points of view from some committed European MEPs, that the future in holding this bloc together lies in sewing the ties even more closely, binding these countries even closer together, rather than giving them the kind of flexibility that they may want. Well, many Eurosceptics will say, well, that's exactly why the UK should be leaving now, before the whole thing unravels. And then, of course, there's others who say the EU was set to help conquer divisions. It was born out of the ashes of the Second World War to try and make amends with stronger economic ties that then turned into a bigger political project. This is a capital city. It's also the heart of the EU that is still facing some internal divisions on that. Earlier, throughout the course of the day, we saw the presidents of the key 3 institutions, the European Council, the European Commission, and the President of the European Parliament, make an impassioned plea to the telecameras, also to the media waiting, saying, look, don't try and divide us. We have opportunities to offer people and opportunities to offer new countries that want to come and take the UK's place. I just want to point out, though, take a look at this scene here in Brussels. It's pretty forlorn. Just up until 5 minutes ago, we had a Hungarian saxophonist playing a melancholy tune. That really is the mood here, as the mood and the winds of change start to blow upon Brussels and the EU with the UK's departure.